Hey everybody, how y'all doing? It's Steve coming at you. Hope you're having a great day. I just wanted to touch base with you really quickly and cover something you haven't probably heard a lot about being covered, especially on the mainstream media. And I saw something the other night that absolutely blew my mind. It was actually pretty tough to watch. But from a standpoint of television and media, it was incredible. But from a human standpoint, it was very hard to watch. And what it was a segment of the Hannity show from Fox News last night where he had the father of the 19-year-old who was killed about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago, in the area formerly known as CHOP. The first young man to be killed there was a 19-year-old by the name of Horace Lorenzo Anderson Jr., 19 years old. And his father was on Hannity, and it was an amazing interview, about 35 minutes of the father with a spokesman, a gentleman named Mr. Taylor. And I'm going to link the video to it in the description. But I'm telling you, it is, warning you ahead of time, it's tough to watch because it's a very emotional interview. I saw Hannity himself get choked up numerous times. It was tough to watch, but it was important to watch for this reason. We keep hearing that Black Lives Matter. And everybody in the world knows George Floyd's name. Or Ahmaud Brooks, I believe the young man's name is. Or Rashad Brooks in Atlanta, a gentleman who was shot trying to shoot a policeman with a taser, and he got shot and he was killed. Two different circumstances in those cases. But especially everybody in the world knows George Floyd's name because we were told Black Lives Matter. And part of the reason this whole Chaz/CHOP zone was set up supposedly was because Black Lives Matter, right? But I haven't heard hardly anyone discuss the 19-year-old Horace Lorenzo Anderson Jr. I'll bet you most of you didn't even know his name. You just heard a 19-year-old was killed in CHOP, right? And a 30-some-year-old was injured in the hospital, critical condition. Then just a few days ago, we had a 16-year-old who was driving an SUV, white Jeep SUV, I believe it is, with a 14-year-old, and the 16-year-old was killed just outside CHOP, just within CHOP, just outside the zone, I guess, or just within the zone. And a 16-year-old was killed, named Antonio Mays Jr. So now, Horace Anderson Jr. and Antonio Mays Jr., two young black men in their teens, killed in the former CHOP zone. And you've heard nothing from Black Lives Matter. You've heard next to nothing from the media on it. Why? Even watching the interview last night was amazing to me as the father, Horace Lorenzo Anderson Sr., the father of the 19-year-old, said no one's contacting him. He hadn't heard from the mayor. He hadn't heard from the police until recently. And it still doesn't know what happened to his son, how it all went down, what happened. All he knows is he has to bury his son, and that's today. They're having the funeral for his 19-year-old today. He still doesn't know what happened, still doesn't know how it happened. But he's got to bury his son. But Black Lives Matter. And I'll bet you nobody's heard their names before. And, apparently it's racist to say all lives matter. So how about we strike a balance and say all Black Lives Matter, including the lives of the 3-year-old little kid that was killed in Chicago in a gunfight, and I think a 13-year-old girl who was shot watching television at her grandma's house in Chicago. Maybe if we just get to the point where we can say all Black Lives Matter rather than only the black lives that are taken by white cops or white people, maybe we could get someplace on this whole lives mattering deal. But I wanted to make this video specifically so that you know the names. Horace Lorenzo Anderson Jr., 19 years old. Antonio Mays Jr., 16 years old. Both dead in a zone that was set up because Black Lives Matter. The irony in that is thick enough to cut. So with that, guys, if you like what I said here, please leave a message. I know this video is a little bit more of a downer than most of my videos are, but it's important. And I want you to, if you can, watch the video that I'm going to put in the description. It was a powerful, powerful interview. And I can understand how that dad feels, because I have two children, a 20-year-old son, a 19-year-old daughter in that age range. And I don't even know how he did the interview. You could tell watching the interview, he's still in shock. You could tell he's still numb. And there's a couple of moments where he broke down. But you could tell it was incredibly powerful. And I commend him for even being able to do it. But he said, nobody out there seems to care about his son. But his son was a person. His life mattered. And he hasn't heard from Black Lives Matter. So if these lives really do matter, they should all matter. It shouldn't matter what political agenda is behind them. It shouldn't only matter when there's politics involved. It should matter all the time. Every time. So with that, I hope you have a fantastic day. If you like what I said, please leave a thumbs up. If you didn't, leave a thumbs down. Leave your comments either way. I look forward to hearing from you. Hope you have an awesome day. Take care, and we'll talk again soon.